This is Bill with a high-level explanation of matrix, downline, and placement. We get a lot of questions from people who want to know why people are moved around and exactly what the logic is behind each one of the matrices and how they fill. So for those of you who are concerned about such a thing and you want to know why things are done the way they are, we built this system to be as fair as we possibly can to every single person. And of course, we're supporting the person who does the most sales and recruiting over people who are just in there getting overflow. A person who gets overflow may or may not have his people moved out from under him when we resort the database. When each matrix gets filled, it's only fair that the people or the sales are resorted under the original sponsor. So that's where we weight the priority. We weight the priority under the person who did the sale. And so some people are confused. I had 12 people in my downline and now I only have 8 in this next matrix. What happened to those people? If they're not your people, you shouldn't be concerned about them. If they're not your sales, you should go out and make some sales. That's probably the most important thing, is that the people that are overflow are basically a gift to you that can be moved around as you move through the matrices. Now, the closer you are to your original sponsor, the less likely it is that his personal sales are going to be moved out from under you. But let me show you some of the logic. We have to look at 3 different things. One is your original sponsor, who they're placed under, and what the genealogy is of the parent-child relationship with each person. So, understanding, before I even go into this explanation, I've been consulting for over 30 years in the network marketing industry, and in talking to even owners of companies. Most owners don't understand their own comp plan, because when we start getting into this stuff, it's a little tricky, it's a little mathematical. For those of you who have a mathematical mindset and you don't mind going through the complexity of this stuff, I want to explain that to you. But if it doesn't make sense to you, if it's a little bit confusing, I understand that too. That even with the full explanation, some people are not going to quite get it. So let me show you how it works. So we start off with you at the top. We're going to take all of your associations, your direct sponsors, and we're going to mark them as blue so you can see for the example. You see that your first 2, we're not going to consider them much in the explanation. We'll just assume that these 2 people are your first sale and your second sale, and then this is your third sale. Now, as things progress, this person would be, of course, overflow for you because it's someone else's sale. It comes down into your genealogy, and then the next sale that they make or someone else overflow, and as the numbers match, you see that it goes 1000 and 1008 and 1009. As the sales are being made, you're going to see that the numbers, people float around based on number, left to right, top to bottom, based on a number hierarchy. In other words, if there's a 1009 over here, he's going to get the first overflow before we give 1039 over here. So it is left to right, top to bottom, but it also goes by priority of number. So this person came in 30 people before this person. So any potential overflow would first go here to his left side before it would go anywhere else. So for this example, let me show you what compression does. Compression is where most people are getting confused. Let's say, just for graphical expression, that this is the way that they all filled in. Now, what happens during compression is this person sponsored directly this person, who sponsored directly this person. So that's the hierarchy of sales. When we move over to the next matrix, or if this person opts out of the program, we move him out of the system, and then this person has to be placed. In this scenario, he could be placed directly in that same spot, or he could be moved based on the number of people that he has sponsored or sold. In other words, if he has 4 or 5, 6 or 7 other sales, all these positions under here would be sponsored. It'd be sponsored here, be sponsored here, be sponsored here, and then this person would move out under there. So it's based on a hierarchical relationship based on a genealogy. So it wouldn't ever move out under here because it needs to maintain the original relationship from the genealogy or the sponsorship. So we're going to find the first available spot on the left-hand side of the number, on the lowest number that we can find. So if there was a number 1010 and it was sitting under here, and a 1011 sitting under here, we would find the first left available spot, and it would probably sit here under 1010 before it would go under 1039. Now what's interesting about this is people are confused, is as this matrix moves around, as we move from one level to the next, when this person suddenly goes into the next matrix, let's say for instance he wasn't in the $99 sales matrix, Suddenly he gets bumped back in. He now is going to have this person placed left hand side directly under him. So we see positional moving. He could have been under here, and suddenly when this guy comes back in, we check to see who his original sponsor is. We place him left hand side, and now this person went out from under 1039 and went back under his original sponsor 1040. And that's where some people get confused. They said, I used to have a person under me that didn't belong to me. It was an overflow position. It didn't belong to me. When this person opts back in or upgrades to the next level, he then gets all of his entire genealogy. It's the only fair way of doing things. You don't want to hinder this guy if he's out here and he's taking a little bit of extra time. If he's taking a little extra time to grow his organization, you don't want to hinder him or have him lose all of his sales. So when he finally does come in, you want to make sure that he gets all of his people. And for that week or 2 weeks or month, whatever it took for him to do that, we actually placing it fairly under the next person. So I hope that makes sense to you. Each one of your matrices is going to be different because, of course, this person might not be in your $297 matrix, so this guy's going to go over here. And he might be in your $20 matrix, so this guy's going to go over here. And the matrix, each one of the matrices are going to look different depending on the hierarchy, the genealogy, and who we place them under. So just to give you the short overview, we place left to right, top to bottom, based on a relationship of the person that sponsored them and directly under the number that's closest to their number. So left to right, top to bottom, with a priority on their sponsor and a priority on the number. So the 1008 would get overflow before 1039 would get overflow. And so hope that makes sense to you. And you can see that each one of the matrices are going to be dynamic, but the person who makes the most advantage in this program is this guy. The guy who sponsors the most people wins. The guy who sponsors the most people has all of his people always trying to be pushed up, always trying to be pushed up, always trying to be pushed up as close as we can to him so we can fill his matrix. That's the priority of the system, is to make sure that we take care of the person who's making the most sales. And we're trying to fill those places up and over. One last example. If someone above you suddenly comes in and they have an overflow, like this guy, for example, we're going to give him an overflow position. Someone above you does some extra work and he overflows. He's going to take that overflow, push it in here, and then every one of these people are now going to be resorted under each person. It's going to change the relationship of each and every one of your people. So you might actually, for a short season, have a dead leg over here because the overflow is not taking care of it. As your people get resorted, you're going to see those places fill back up. So I hope that makes sense to you. Again, it's complicated for some people, but if you understand that we put original preference on the sponsor and then the number, and then to make sure that we maintain the genealogy, it's the only way to do it that makes sense and is fair to every person.